welcome in to the CHGO Bears podcast. We are presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app. Use that promo code CHGO when you sign up. Big show today. Joining us from the desert in a matter of moments will be Adam Hogue. My partner in crime, Nicholas Moreano, is ready to go. I've got tons of thoughts on best player available, a little deep dive into Bijan Robinson coming, but Nick, I don't want to bury the lead. You ready for this one?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Can you smell what I'm cooking over here?
I can't say that I can right now, but can you let me know? What are you cooking over there?
I'm just telling you, it smells really good in here. And I got to tell you, this was organic. I sat down, as you can see, my expert background situation, which is perfect as per always. I moved the camera around. I got my throw blankie over here. I got some pictures up for you. I got a weird light in the background. This is all going next level, by the way, next Monday. But then I look to my left, and here it is, Nick. I don't know if you can see that.
Is that sandalwood?
That is that is the sandalwood, and I got it burning. It smells sweet in here. What's up, Kari? We practice what we preach here at CHGO Bears. I am flowing, Nick. I am calm. I am everything today.
I was at Target the other day, Mark, and there's those sandalwood candles. I didn't pick it up, but I think the next time it's a must-have because I mean this is a movement that's happening right now. The sandalwood candles.
Technically, by the way, this is sandalwood and sea, a soy blend candle, 15 ounces, 423 grams. I'm not playing around here, Nick. This thing is, and by the way, yeah, I can't smell anything, so I really don't know if it smells good in here if I'm being honest, but that's all right. All right, so Hogue's going to join us. We're going to play Ryan Poles' 9-minute media scrum yesterday. There was a ton of stuff that came out of that, and of course he's talked with Kevin Warren, and I believe George McCaskey's coming up today as well. But let's as we wait for Hogue here, Nick, we had a little bit of a discussion yesterday about, and by the way, one other thing I should mention, Greg Bragg's corner Bijan Robinson when he was at the podium back down in Indy. So we're going to play a little bit of that just to get into it here, but. So one thing that kind of stood out to yesterday's conversation as I was going back through the show was best player available and whether Ryan Poles would actually draft, quote-unquote, the best player available. And I think the sexy name around that is Bijan Robinson. Like, if you want Saquon Barkley, people are saying, then you're drafting Bijan. And Saquon, highest running back drafted of recent note, 2 overall. I went and did a little bit of a research dive on if you draft running backs high, like who are your standard, who are the Pro Bowl running backs from last year, right? And so you had two of them who were drafted in the first round. Saquon being one, number 2 overall. And then you had a ton of second rounders. The other first rounder was Josh Jacobs, 24 overall out of Alabama. But then the other Pro Bowl running backs, Nick Chubb, 35th in the second round, Derrick Henry, 45th in the second round, Miles Sanders, 53rd in the second round. And then even if you go back to last year, Joe Mixon, second rounder, 48th, Jonathan Taylor, second rounder, 41st. So, and then you got Tony Pollard, who was a 4th-round pick, 128 overall. So I find it a little bit interesting. They're not getting these Pro Bowl running backs. They ain't getting drafted in the 7th round, although Pacheco was incredible this year and will be a Pro Bowler down the line. But they're not going in the. If you look at the bulk of them right now, they're not going necessarily in the first round. But we're talking top 60 picks here. So. I don't know what we can take from that, whether the Bears would actually be so bold as to do something as to draft Bijan. But anybody who puts on the tape on Bijan, you are going to be excited. He is elusive. He is tough to handle. He would be extremely exciting to watch on a weekly basis. Now, he might be getting tackled 3 yards behind the line because, we're not exactly perfect up front. But I'm just trying to, would polls actually do quote unquote best player available? Not, and we can look at cornerbacks too.
Yeah, Mark, and that's a really good question because I was watching Tyree Wilson's film against Texas, and Bijan Robinson kept popping off, and I'm like, man, this guy, he's a special running back, and obviously the Bears situation at running back, you go sign Deontay Foreman, you have Khalil Herbert, and you have some young guys too, but that is a guy that immediately upgrades that position, but. For me and how I'm kind of viewing this situation for the Bears, they're staying at 9, and Bijan Robinson is available. And let's put Devon Witherspoon also in this discussion because he's probably arguably the best cornerback in this draft. Bijan Robinson, the best running back in this draft. Personally, for me and what the Bears, how this would I think benefit the team, I go Devon Witherspoon to add to this Bears defense. I just don't know the future of Jalen Johnson, whether or not he gets extended or not. But like Bijan Robinson, Justin Fields in that backfield would be so enticing. But for me, I don't know if I take a running back at 9. I can't see myself doing it. And for Ryan, but the question is, would Ryan Poles do it for best player available? I think he'd consider it, Mark, but I don't think he does it.
Well, I think he's considering everything because he's Ryan Poles and he's our leader and he's going to take us to the promised land and the Bears are going to win the Super Bowl and we're all going to have a party here at CHGO Bears. That's the plan. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at the chat and Gary Ross, our chat leader. Let's give him that title today because Gary's the most consistent dude ever. Jackson Smith and Jigba and or what do you say? A tackle.
A tackle.
But so if they went with Jackson Smith and Jigba, that would be, at least in my mind, the way I'm defining best player available. And let me go further and define it. Best player available. That means somebody who is a playmaker. That's how I'm defining it. Maybe you could look at it and say like, this playmaker could be somebody who gets to the quarterback. But I'll include that cornerback, sort of take away playmaker. But the Bears are going to be looking at dudes who are going to be able to get interceptions and be a little bit more dynamic at that position than what they have already. So I would include that too. But I would not include, if they draft an offensive lineman, to me that means you're drafting for need. I would highly doubt that if they take Paris Johnson Jr., which I'd be completely fine with, and or Peter Skoronski, and or Broderick Jones. But to me, that means you're more drafting for need more than anything else. Does that make sense?
It does, Mark, but like a guy like Peter Skoronski, like how we've kind of talked about him, maybe one of the safest picks in the draft because you could move him into guard. He's going to be a consistent player for you. I think when we think about best player too, it's for the specific team that's drafting them, right? And like Bijan Robinson may not be the best player for another team, right? Because again, it may be a scheme fit or whatever it might be. But I think Ryan Poles needs to be careful about this too, because this is, the season where you want to see a lot out of Justin Fields. And I get if you maybe draft like Paris Johnson Jr., Pierce Skoronski, Broderick Jones, and they're not quote unquote the best player at 9, that still is an immediate help for Justin Fields though. So if you're an NFL GM, like the process you have to go through to actually make this pick or to make picks in the first round is fascinating because of all the different variables. But that's kind of where I'm leaning. That's where I think Poles is going to end up going because you're still getting a very good player who's going to make an impact for this team if you're sticking with any 3 of those offensive linemen at 9. But yeah, again, I think it's even polarizing in the chat too. Like Bijan Robinson at 10, some people are for it, some people are against it, and I think that we have a couple more weeks until Poles is actually on, or when the Bears actually make that pick around the clock.
I'm just here. Listen, I'm with you. I think they're going. Well, I think they will draft a lineman, offensive and or defensive lineman, and Poles will play this interview. I thought there was a lot of breadcrumbs that he left in this interview. And there was an interesting part about Chicago, too, which we clipped. And I got to shout out my guy, Matthew Gregory, who just put in the chat that there is a Die Hard happy hour tonight, which damn right there is. 8 o'clock tonight. So we expect to see every single person there. If you're not there, we're going to hunt you down. And you do have to be a diehard to do it. So level up your fandom, as we say. Go to CHGO.com. Become a diehard. It's huge support for us. If you like what we're doing here, we greatly appreciate you being with us on the diehard level. And, of course, we give back to you for that. You get the free tee. You get 20% off merchandise. You get the exclusive content that we don't provide everywhere. You get discounts on all of our takeovers. We try to show you how much we appreciate you even more when we go to the diehard level. And tonight we'll be hanging out, taking questions, talking about whatever. Should be a ton of fun. And I'm getting word, by the way, that Hogue's going to join us in a minute. And I'd also like to tell you, Nick, before Hogue gets here, that I jumped on to Greg Braggs' Spaces last night.
That's too funny. I was gonna jump in there. I was in bed and I'm like, okay, I see Mark and Greg in here. I don't know where this conversation is gonna go. So I stayed out. But I think the next late night Spaces, I'll have to jump in there.
I mean, I don't know if I'll ever do it again, to be honest with you. It was a disturbing experience because it's like Braggs and 4 of his friends, but it was an experience. I'll just say it like that. So my guy's on my mind, and Bragg's on the show tomorrow, and he'll be there tonight. Let's get a couple super chats in here as we wait for good old Sir Hogue to pop on in. Let's see here. Jay Toasty, good morning to you. Good afternoon, wherever you are. $1.99. Bijan, when we already lead the league in rushing, nah. Jay Toasty, let me ask you a question, Jay Toasty. Let me ask you a question, Nick. Do you really think we have enough offensive weapons right now? Do you really think we have the firepower? How sweet would it be to watch some dude out there that, like, let me give you a quick little stat that excited me today when I was doing my Bijan Robinson, basically dream. Not going to happen, but maybe it'll happen. Most in the FBS in forced missed tackles. The most. This dude makes dudes miss. Let's think about you on a Sunday, just sitting there, Toasty, hanging out with a Toasty, having a couple cockies, or maybe just going straight OJ. It doesn't matter. And this dude's just making everybody miss all over the field. How are you going to feel when that's going on? Oh, how about Justin? Little RPO. We're gonna fake it to Bijan. He's gonna keep it. No, he's gonna. I mean that excites me, and I'm not as down on the offensive line. We just need a right tackle. So find a right tackle. Let's go. It doesn't have to be at 9. Remember, we got our left tackle in the 5th round last year. Let's take a couple of swings. Somebody elevates. We put him at right tackle. We got Bijan kicking ass. We traded down, by the way, from 9 to 18. We drafted him at 18. We got another first-round pick out of it. 18 doesn't make sense because that's the Lions, and I saw Jalen Carter speculated to go there. But didn't I just paint a more exciting a picture than just drafting an offensive lineman right there? I think I did.
You paint an exciting and, enticing picture. I'll look at it, marvel at it for a little bit, Mark. But then I'm like, man, can I get a running back that can do not to the level of Bijan Robinson, but some exciting things in the 3rd or that 2nd round that you were mentioning, where some of the other running backs that have been successful later on the draft. And I think that's the other thing, positional value. So as Ryan Poles is weighing best player available and positional value, Bijan Robinson is probably lower on one end with the positional value, but higher on that end. So it's a fascinating game, but it is an enticing and look-worthy picture. But I'm also wondering what can I paint and what can I see later on in this draft that can also give me some pretty good results like we've seen from some of these other running backs in the league.
All right. On that note, let's bring in our guy from the desert. He's hanging out on top of mountains. He's hanging out with Ryan Poles. He's hanging out with George McCaskey. He's hanging out with Kevin Warren. He's hanging out with Patrick Finley. He's Adam Hogue. What's up,
mostly
buddy?
Mostly Pat Finley,
That's
for being honest.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, or an Adam Johns, or yeah. There was a funny moment this morning though, where Flus got done talking at his breakfast and got him walked away, but Larry was still sitting there in a Bears shirt, and so someone walked up and asked Larry a question, thinking Larry Mayer was the head coach of the Bears.
Larry,
it was great.
Hey, I'm on Team Larry. I've been on board for this for about a month now. I would love Team Larry to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears. By the way, I should have sent this to you, Sarah, and I don't know if you could find it on the fly here, but it doesn't matter. The picture of all the coaches, Hogue,
Yes.
and the Flus with the chest.
Yes. Yes.
The Flus is like, what is the Flus benching? 390, 25 times an hour? Dude's huge. The Flus is flexing.
Yeah. I'm gonna. That's on my to-do. It did not come up today in the breakfast, but it is on my to-do list before I get out of here to figure out what's the daily routine. How many push-ups are we talking here? Because I too could use a little muscle on my frame. So I want to get some advice from the coach.
Well, Mark, he wasn't even flexing. That's the thing. He was just standing
there with a nice tight, kind of tight shirt.
Tight shirt and
a little schmedium.
He probably was schmeeding him up, but the way that thing was showing out, I mean, it could have even been a large with the Flus. Big time Flus. I love this guy. All right. There's polls. There's a picture of polls. Sarah, I'm going to hook you up with the Flus photo. It's out there somewhere in Twitter land. Maybe Hogue. Did you put it on your Twitter, Adam Hogue? Is it out there on your Twitter?
I have not. I can find it.
Give a crop a pic and send it to Sarah and Nick. We got it. I mean, people have seen it, but I just crop it and make it look good. What else did you learn from Flus? What else have you learned today, Adam?
Yeah, no. We got 30 minutes with the head coach. In our kind of a round table setting. It's always kind of a nice conversation at the. It's because it's longer than usual and a little bit more comfortable than usual than a press conference would usually be. As you can imagine, I mean, Matt Eberflus doesn't give up a whole lot, but there were a couple nuggets I tweeted out already that I found interesting. I mean, one is like, yeah, we're gonna work on the passing game more this year. Good idea. I like that. Yeah, it's like, but it was set in a way that, like, last year we focused a lot on the rushing game. It worked out. It feels like the Bears have that part nailed down, and now they really got to take the passing game to the next level, which they're working on with bringing in a guy like DJ Moore, but also just to hear Flus say, yeah, we're 7-on-7s might be longer in practice this year because we're going to put a little bit more emphasis on making sure that, because remember, one of the things you hear him say a lot is time on task, right? So you got to put the time in to get better. So I thought that was one interesting nugget that came from Matt Eberflus this morning.
So Adam, as we were we were talking about when Tremaine Edmonds signed and TJ Edwards, who's going to play Mike, who's going to play Will, we got the definitive answer from Eberflus that Tremaine Edmonds is going to play the Mike. No surprise there, but what was his kind of explanation that he had for putting Tremaine Edmonds in that position?
Yeah, it's interesting because, and I think both Flus and Poles have been. We've learned this about them. They're not necessarily, especially in Poles' case, not afraid to be transparent about some things, but they also like to keep things open ended. So even when Flus gave that answer this morning, it was like, well, we're not going to completely set the depth chart with who's playing where, like it's permanent, like this is what we're doing week one. But then he went into Tremaine Edmonds has been a Mike linebacker, and that's where we like him. That's where we think he's going to be because, and the biggest thing really is the size and the length at that position and his coverage ability. You just add all that up. We know he's a good coverage linebacker. We know he's a big dude. We know that he's freaky athletic and he's got really long arms. So you add all that up and it does bring back some thoughts of when there was a guy named Brian Urlacher that was in the middle of this same exact scheme, covering as much ground as he could. Now I don't think it's fair to put those types of expectations on him because I do think that where Edmonds has to get better is when he's playing more downhill. He can get kind of lost in traffic closer to the line of scrimmage where, Urlacher was always really good at finding those places and really being able to do everything, right? So, but specifically when it comes to coverage and his size and his length, that's why they like Tremaine Edmonds, where we all think he's going to at least start. Injuries could dictate other things, right? But I still, I've been reporting this for weeks now. They will, when they line up at practice, the first OTAs, you can expect it to be Tremaine Edmonds in the middle, TJ Edwards at the will, and Jack Sanborn, the Sand God at the Sam linebacker.
Sand God, reminding you of an open invitation to come on the show, and I'm going to be reaching out to Sand God Central to get you on here because it's something that we just got to make happen. Did anybody ask Flus, Adam, if he had any influence in bringing Tremaine here? Because I think that just seemed like something that, in logical following the breadcrumbs, the Flus must have had at least some impact in requesting the Edmonds.
Well, so it's one thing I wanted to talk about too. Is one of my big takeaways just from the last 24 hours or so. Even hearing polls talk about Flus's scouting ability. I think I brought this up with you guys yesterday too, and it's very evident that Flus is involved with everything. I mean, and one other nugget I thought was fascinating was he said right now, because the coaches are still working, like they still work year round. They get a couple weeks off here and there to go on vacation and stuff, but really in the NFL, they're working on scheme, they're working on improvements, they're working on coaching things to plan for next season. They're looking at their opponents. So right now the schedule is like they come in the morning, they work on football, right? They work on scheme, they work on things that they're going to coach up and what they can get better at. In the afternoon, they transition to scouting, the whole coaching staff. So they're looking at free agents, they're looking at college prospects, they're putting a lot of work into that side of things as well. And you can tell that really matters to Flus. So and the amount of work he puts, even when I brought up David Montgomery, which we can get into in a couple of minutes here too, like he's like, yeah, I was in all those meetings, all those conversations, he's involved with everything. And when it comes with Tremaine Edmonds specifically, he said he talked to Leslie Frazier, who of course coached Edmonds in Buffalo. And I just think that they targeted, for all the things I was just talking about, size, length, price, ability, and I think we all kind of got maybe a little bit too caught up in focusing on the will linebacker spot, and it is an important spot in the defense. But this city knows better than anyone what a truly big, dynamic, long middle linebacker can do within the same defensive scheme too. And I think that that's ultimately what led to the move.
Nick, go ahead here. I just want to just underline one thing here.
Yeah.
For me, just listening to all this back, it makes me trust Poles and what he says even more because he said that he was a big Roquan guy, and by going out and getting Edmonds, well, it fits in that he was, and that he likes that position, and that he likes good players, but it just didn't work out as far as contract and trade and everything and the same thing with Montgomery. There's a lot of truth coming out of the mouth of Ryan Poles is what I'm getting. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, real quickly, Adam. O-line talk. Was there anything that Matt Eberflus said today about Braxton Jones or any of the kind of the situation with the offensive line at this state?
Yeah, so just working left to right. He seems open to the idea of Braxton Jones moving to the right side. I don't get the sense though from anyone in the organization that that's something they want to do. So it's something they're open to doing if they get the right player. So, I don't know what their draft board looks like, but if they draft a Paris Johnson, I think it would stand to reason that you would move Braxton over to the right side. If they draft Peter Skoronski, I think it would probably in that situation, because we've seen and heard a lot about how arm length does matter to this organization. If they were going to draft Peter Skoronski, my guess is he's either going to start at right tackle or move inside to guard right away. So I don't necessarily get the sense that it's something they want to do, moving Braxton to the right side. And I don't necessarily think that's the right move either. I mean, we saw him go through rookie adjustments last year and have success, but I think it's best for his development to keep him in the same spot instead of having to learn everything the opposite way on the right side. So that's something to watch. But I do think if they get the right player, and we've already seen them with the linebackers, right? If the right player's there, they're going to draft the good player and figure it out on their depth chart afterwards, which I think is a great approach. I think you want good football players first and foremost. You figure out the depth chart later. And if they're good football players, they'll adjust and they'll adapt just fine. The other interesting thing is, I think in signing Nate Davis, there were Flus talked about how, remember, he was in the same division as the Titans before. And so he talked about like that was a guy, and he's the defensive coordinator back then for the Colts. So, when they play the Titans twice a year, they're scheming against these guys. They're trying to figure out, hey, how do we get DeForest Buckner the right matchup? And it's obvious that they had a lot of respect for Nate Davis when he was in Indy and in those games going up against them. So I think that was a big reason why Nate Davis is now a Chicago Bear. My expectation there is he's at right guard. They're not going to move him. He's played his entire career at right guard. I think he stays there, and I think the adjustment will be for Tevin Jenkins to move over to left guard.
That's super interesting, and I'd like to give myself a loaf on not connecting the dots to that the Flus had schemed against Nate Davis and had respect for Nate Davis, and that he was very involved in the Nate Davis thing, because it did sort of come out of nowhere, that signing. At least that's what it felt like at the time, that, they're signing a guard. They're signing a guard that plays Tevin's position. So there had to be something behind the scenes there, and that makes a whole lot of sense when you follow those breadcrumbs. By the way, Hogue, I don't know if you've seen this. I know you haven't seen this because you just joined the show, but I'm seeing it in the chat. I am sitting at home here today as we got a little construction going on in the office, and this.
I got some sandalwood going.
I got some sandalwood, baby. We're living well. All right. So let me get this straight here. Would you say, just being around these dudes, if you can sort of rewind back, that they seem just way more comfortable in their, not necessarily in their skin, but just like with the job and where they're going? Like, I don't know. I'm watching your video of Poles yesterday, and we talked to him too. He just seems like, I don't know, settled. Like they're grounded. They believe in themselves. All that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's, first of all, Poles has a sense of confidence that I think existed last year, but he's coming out of his shell a little bit more, certainly in just the way he's explaining things, right? But also just how he handled the whole, that was a lot of pressure. I mean, to get thrown into having the first pick and basically making the decision. I think they made the decision relatively early that they were going to move it. And one thing that kind of came out of Flus today is that it was on their mind to do exactly what they did, which was trade it early, trade it before free agency. And so they had on their board at Hallis Hall every team that was interested, which players they might have available to, if they could work a player into the deal, which they ultimately did with DJ Moore. So this was very structured and talked about, and it's just the whole process of everything that they do seems to be methodical and done a certain way that they all believe in. Like, they really do seem to be on the same page with it. And, Poles will also tell you he's not going to get them all right. Like, there's going to be trades that don't work. There's going to be signings that don't work. But I think as long as you have that type of confidence and believe in the way of how you're doing it, that it's probably going to lead to better results more times than not. And it does seem like they're really on the same page here going into year two with how they're, going through each one of these big decisions. And there's been some big ones, without a doubt. As I've said many times, the easy part was last year. Tearing the roster down was easy. I mean, no offense to anything they did, but anybody could have done that. Any GM in the league could have done that part. Now it's the hard part, and we'll see how it all plays out, obviously, but it does seem like there's a lot of confidence in the way that they're going about these tough decisions in the last couple months.
Adam, I'm just thinking about last year at this time, Ryan Poles was telling you guys, like, the Larry Ogunjobi thing, how difficult that was at the last owners meetings, and kind of speaking to like the comfortability now he has going into year two. It's just a completely different vibe. But what's next on your schedule, Adam? What do you got? What's next for you, and what you got to do?
Well, we got George McCaskey later today. Whenever the meetings are over, we'll be talking to him. And I guess I'll plug it for the Hogue and Johns crowd. But Matt Eberflus will be sitting down with us as he did last year at the owners' meeting. So we're supposed to be doing that here in a little bit. And, maybe I'll dig in the push-up routine and we'll get some answers there for everybody, because that's what everybody wants to know.
Can we see that pic, Sarah? Let's just look at this, because look at it. I mean, look at that dude. Seriously, Why don't we put? Who thinks that Flus can play right tackles? Look at that guy.
Well, he
I
played
wouldn't mess with
linebacker.
that. Sure. I mean, I would not mess with that dude. Look at this guy. Flus, 5 a.m., baby. I got you. I see what you're doing, Flus. Dude's doing meetings all day. He's scheming offense. He's scheming defense. He's scouting. He's lifting. He probably lifts between each scout.
I mean, I tweeted a picture too from breakfast this morning. He had another shirt that was, showing the guns off. Good for him.
When you got it, you just got to do it.
I mean,
yeah, that's why I have this loose polo on.
I ordered a bunch of stuff from the CHGO locker yesterday, and one of my guys that I'm setting up, I'm like, what size? He's like medium, dude. Are you kidding? I gotta look big. So we got people who love this show who I want to hook up. That they're living the Flus life too. All right, I'm assuming you got to get somewhere, Hogue. So appreciate you, and just know that you'll never have a better background than you have right now.
No, I know, it's amazing.
It's
yeah,
like, you're like
I tried to set.
postcard.
I feel like one right now. I tried to set it up for you guys. There were a couple other options that was just like a concrete wall behind me. I'm like, no, we gotta. If we're on the road here, we gotta show it off.
I mean, Hollywood Hogue is just straight. I mean, this is it right here. This is the picture. This should be your Twitter. I mean, we got palm trees to there. It is. There it is.
Boom. There we
palm
go.
trees
Shady
to the left.
Rays.
Palm trees to the right. Thank you, Shady Rays. We love you. All right, great stuff. We look forward to your interview with the Flus. Maybe we'll, whatever. We'll play a couple of bits of that audio, and everybody listen to Hogue and Johns too. So enjoy, brother. Tell Flus I say hello.
All right, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, more coming from George McCaskey later in the day, and then I'll see you guys when I get back home.
All right, Adam.
Done and done. Matthew Gregory, we are working on a Carm shirt. At least I am in my mind. I've not. I don't know if I have upper management support on this, but it is in my dreams that there will be some level of Carm memorabilia that will be available at some point in my
Matthew needs to
career.
sneak into the owners' meetings there in Phoenix. That's what he needs to do. He needs to go find where everything's happening, just sneak in there, and
That's true.
That's true. Do it.
Our CHGO Bears Phoenix brethren, who we had a great time hanging out with, they should be making noise out there. Hey, Nick, why don't you tell people about DraftKings? And I'm going to grab my phone, which I should always have on me that I don't have, and then I'm going to tell you about Game Time.
I got you. If you're watching the podcast here, you can see the little DraftKings logo right above me. But DraftKings, as you all know, is America's top-rated sportsbook. One of the best times, in my opinion, to start placing those bets is during March Madness. So you have to take advantage of all the ways you can bet with DraftKings. And, of course, you can bet on the NBA, MLB. And, hey, if you're into the XFL, you can do that too. But first, what you got to do is download the app now and sign up with the code CHGO. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, MLB, NFL. And you got to do it with the code CHGO. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. You got to see show notes for details. And my play of the week, and when I saw this, I'm like, whoa, really? You're going to give me plus 950 for the Iowa Hawkeyes women's basketball team to win the national championship? I know they're underdogs going into the matchup this Friday, but I already made the bet. I put a $10 bet on the Iowa Hawkeyes to be holding up the championship trophy by the end of this whole March Madness tournament and win it all, going with Caitlin Clark the entire way. So you want to take those odds plus 950? Do it right now on DraftKings.
I like it. And you could also, by the way, if you want to bet on the MVP race, you want to do some MVP action here. There's this guy up in Milwaukee by the name of Giannis Antetokounmpo who's getting 5-1 odds right now. And Embiid's been hurt. And Carm tip here, free for you at DraftKings. Embiid's been hurt, and people don't want to vote for Jokic for 3 straight years, despite the fact that he's having an unbelievable season, and the Nuggets are up top the West. 5-1 on Giannis. I like that play. I like that play a whole lot.
One.
I also like the fact that the Lakers are in town tomorrow night. How would you get tickets to that? Well, you would go to Game Time Tickets. Download the Game Time Ticket app like 15 million people have done. You want to support us, of course. You can buy your tickets through the link in the description on this fine YouTube video. But Game Time tickets will put you in the front row. They'll put you in the last row. They'll put you wherever you want to sit. They give you the beautiful view of the stadium so you can just see and feel exactly where you're going to be. It was created by fans, for fans. You are living the dream when you go to a game and or concert and or any event via Game Time tickets. Bulls tickets right now for tomorrow night. Ain't cheap to see LeBron, not gonna lie, but that's what it is. Cheapest right now is $138 all in to get in the building for Bulls and Lakers tomorrow night. But you want to get some baseball going on. We got opening day on Thursday. Going to be a great event out in Wrigleyville. 11 o'clock. Come out, see CHGO Cubs and a bunch of us as well. So, and get your tickets through Game Time tickets. All right. Can we live in Fantasyland for one more second here, Nick?
We can. I like Fantasyland. Yeah, let's go to Fantasyland.
All right. I want to hear from Bijan Robinson with Greg Braggs at the Combine. I don't think I've ever seen this video. Braggs was kind enough to put in the chat today because brick by brick, why wouldn't he be paying attention and giving us something to lean into our conversation about Bijan? So here he is with Braggs pushing him.
The run game's been making somewhat of a comeback last year because teams are just so focused on keeping from a passing attack dominating them. So for you, how can you take advantage of that and with the defensive fronts you're looking at and make people pay for not stacking the box against you?
Yeah, man. But all in college, people were stacking the box, and I feel like that's a sign of respect, for your competitor. But for me, I think that in any defense that comes out, I'm trying to dissect it, trying to find ways to create, open holes, create lanes for myself, no matter what it is, 8 in the box, 9 in the box, 7 in the box. For me, I'm just trying to always, figure out ways to really find those creases because, dudes are shooting gaps all the time, making sure I'm not getting inside runs, outside runs. But, I think that, it pays dividend with the blocking that I have at Texas. They've done a great job of creating lanes and creating some space for me to really, find an open lane.
What would it be like to play alongside Justin Fields and let him help you open some things up?
Yeah, so, Justin's my guy. He's a super solid guy, and he's a great quarterback. But if it was me and him in the backfield, that would be something special. I think that he's a special player, and just everything that he goes about, about his business and everything. It'll be pretty fun.
Have you ever met him?
Yeah. Me and him at for my NIL agent David, that's his agent as well. So we always seen each other in the summer and always, just worked on some things with each other. But he's a great guy.
Bijan, have you met?
That is the official Greg Braggs playbook. Do you know Justin? Do you love him? Will you play with him? I love you. And I'm going to sound out of breath.
He gives the Bears fans what he wants, right? Bears fans want to know what would it be like playing with Justin Fields. He went a little quick with that last question there, kind of stopping Bijan in his tracks there. Have you ever met him? So, but hey, good. Greg was asking a bunch of questions that week during the combine.
That and most of them were something to do with Justin Fields. Braggs did a phenomenal job. Braggs always does a phenomenal job. We love you, Greg Braggs. Even though I don't see you in the chat today, you're not watching the show. You're probably working and doing real things. But I don't know. The whole point of this 3 minutes in podcast time is to live in fantasy land. He knows him. He's got the same age as him. It sounds to me like, hey, bring it all on. Give me every challenge possible. I'm going to conquer it. I'm Bijan Robinson. Let's you can go into, just strengths, 3 down back with exceptional talent in all phases, owns a variety of footwork tools, afterpace, direction, and power. Feet are fast, fully connected with his vision for optimal results. Resets run track with sudden jump cuts against penetration. Runs low to the ground, possesses rare contact balance. Ability to stack moves adds a level of unpredictability to his carries. On and on. Soft hands and a nightmare to deal with on wheel routes. Does that sound good to anybody? A nightmare to deal with on real routes? I like fun players, man, and this dude will be straight fun. Trade back, Bijan, home run. Let's go.
Yeah, he's gonna be a hell of a football player at the next level, Mark. And if I already made a bet on DraftKings that the Philadelphia Eagles will take him at 10. So let's make that happen. So I win my bet, and that just me. Look, they lose Miles Sanders and then go get a guy like that. But yeah, he's gonna be really good. He makes an offense better. And if you have an elite offensive line, or even if you don't, like, he can compensate for rushers getting in the rushing lanes, like he was talking about. When you have a stacked box, special player, very special player. So he's gonna make some things happen regardless of the situation he's in at the next level.
So Miles Sanders, by the way, got a 4-year, $25 million contract, 13 guaranteed, right? The David Montgomery, who's not on that level, got 6 guaranteed. You had Saquon Barkley get franchise tagged by the New York Giants, willing to pay him over $10 million a year. You had the same thing happen with Tony Pollard, right? My point being is that it ain't like teams are not willing to pay for running backs. I know the position has been diminished some, and I see it's a very popular take, and it's been in the chat today that draft them later, dime a dozen. They're not a dime a dozen, dude. The elite level dudes are not a dime a dozen, and when you look at the research of Pro Bowl players, they're getting picked in the top 60. This would be a little high, but you were not taking him number 2 overall here. And in my dream scenario, you're trading back and you're getting him. And then we're dancing with who brung you. We're drafting linemen with our 3 next picks. Maybe you're trading back and you're pulling another second round out of there. I don't know. There's a lot of ways this thing could go. But I'm allowing
what I'm noticing though, Mark?
Go ahead.
Just from being around you this entire, like, the draft crushes. Carm's draft crushes. It starts with Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson. Now we're on the Bijan. So and I feel like this whole entire just draft process too. I think we as fans, us too, like, initially early on in this process, it was like all Jalen Carter before everything happened, right? Then you're going into possibly Jackson Smith and Jigba before they get DJ Moore. And then you're going into tackles. As we keep going through this draft process until it officially gets here April 27th, we're just going to keep going through different phases. Right now, you're in your Bijan Robinson phase. I'm looking forward to next week. Where's Mark going to be at? Where are we going to be at for who the Bears can take at number 9? But I think that's what the fascinating thing is about the draft. Like, there's waves of it that happen every single week, every single year. And it's just fun to kind of go back and see where you started, where you end up at.
Yeah, I'm in the moment here, Nick. And I know that you're doing multiple mock drafts. It's probably changing your mind around too. But
yep.
But at the end of the day, dudes with the ball in their hands is more fun than I get it. You went up front, and I got it. But as a 5'10", 100 in my dreams, perfectly 72 pounds, flying around the hoop court, uncoverable in the slot and or out wide, playing amazing tennis. I like dudes who do the skill things. So I'm just me and Bijan are similar in that. Like I was very elusive when I was in my flag football prime, and I see the same thing with Bijan. So that's why I want them to, do something along those lines. Jackson Smith and Jigba, I see comparisons between myself and him too. That dude is nasty. I can live with that. I don't know what it's like to be a Paris Johnson Jr. I can't relate to a Peter Skoronski. Yeah. That's not my game. So,
I get that.
It all plays in. Couple more super chats, and then I want to get to. Let's see. I want to get to our guy Ryan Poles from yesterday. Oscar, no offensive tackle, $10 this year are worth the 9th pick. These guys are not Slater and Darashaw. It has to be Gonzalez or Jackson Smith and Jigba. Christian Gonzalez is interesting out of Oregon, Oscar, we're gonna bookmark this super chat because we'll see if the Bears trade out at 9, where a lot of people think they can have their pick of the best offensive tackle. Where exactly will that first pick go? Who takes them? It's an interesting question as to how high up the rest of the world is looking at this, which also plays into the best player available thing, So
yeah, and I don't know if any of those tackles are not worth the 9th pick. Obviously, I mean, no prospect is perfect, right? You're going to find your flaws with every single one of these guys. But I think if, the Bears were to use their 9th pick on any 3 of the tackles that are in contention to go that high with Pierce Karonsky, Paris Johnson Jr., Broderick Jones, you see why. You see why the Bears would make that decision, even outside of need, but just the physical talent, what they're able to do, and what you project them to do at the next level. So I don't know if I quite agree with that, but they're definitely, each one of the guys has their flaws, and that's what NFL coaching for, to hopefully correct those things at the next level. We have a super chat from Twan89. What are your thoughts if Poles trades down from number 9? Do they get a difference maker player or someone who's just a guy? Well, I think you would hope it's a difference maker player, even if they were to trade down from 9. There's, I think, a good group of players they can still select. Even, let's say they're still in the top 15. If they were to trade back, I still think you would get a day one starter out of a group of guys, especially. And of course, we'll see who goes, how many edge rushers are available, how many tackles are available. But I don't think they just get a guy. I think they get an impact day one starter, even if they were to trade back out of 9.
Yeah, that makes sense. And last one from our guy Michael. Is it Renouf? How do we say this? Renoir?
Ooh, I wouldn't have thought of that way, but it could be.
Shout out to all my old movie buffs there. Can I come over and see your Renoir? If you can name that movie, you put that in the chat if you get it right. What movie that is? I will hook you up with some CHGO Bears gear. Creator of the Sand God name here. Sandborn equals God. All right, Michael. If you say you created it, I'm not going to fight with you because you're paying, you're supporting.
Appreciate you.
You got it. You want to see my Renoir? You're inviting me to your bedroom. Yeah. It's good stuff there, Nick.
Renouf. It says Doug Van Dorn. I'd pronounce it Renouf.
It's probably Renouf. It feels like a Renouf. I got it. All right, Renouf it is, and no one is getting my movie reference, which is kind of slightly upsetting, but I'll get over it. Don't worry about it. I'm just respecting. I'll even give you the era. I'm respecting the 80s and everything that. Yeah, just all the beauty that went on in that decade. Hey, a reminder. You should get yourself some CHGO gear. But if you're not doing that and you're looking for the best in all sorts of things, from gadgets to trinkets to anything you need in the beautiful world, we've got you covered with your favorite teams. And the way to do it is FOCO, F-O-C-O, Soldier Field to the living room, north side, south side, and the hoodies, the slippers, the signs, the bobbleheads, everything in between. Get decked out like my guy DeMar. He's going to crush the Lakers tomorrow night. It's the perfect gift for the football fan in your life. FOCO has you covered. Check out FOCO.com, or you can click the link in the description below for all non-presale items. You can use that promo code CHGO for 10% off. FOCO, we appreciate you. And there you go. Scan it right now. FOCO USA. Appreciate you guys over at FOCO. Nick.
Yo.
Tell me about what's going on again tonight for those who are just joining.
You didn't hear. If you didn't hear, we're having an awesome event for our diehards. We're doing our virtual happy hour. And, I think I'll just say it right now. I think we thought it would be a cool idea for our happy hour guests if we just did a live mock draft within the happy hour. We're talking about these mock drafts. We're talking about all these players. If you're a part of our diehard community, we're going to draft the Bears a perfect squad that when they go into the 2023 season, they're just going to dominate. So that's going to be a part of what we do, but we're going to hang out and we're just going to have a good time. Have a good time talking football, talking life, whatever comes up in our diehard happy hour. That's what's going to be happening tonight at 8:00 But again, to be a part of that, you do have to be a diehard. So once you get done watching, what we're talking about here on the CHGO Bears podcast, go to allchgo.com on the 4th tab there. You'll see our diehard section. You could sign up there, then become a part of all the cool stuff that we're doing there. And you get, again, discounts to shirts. You get all the exclusive content that's behind, that becomes with being a diehard. So many great perks. And again, we're having a happy hour tonight at 8 o'clock. You've got plenty of time to sign up and come hang out with us later tonight.
Absolutely. And congratulations to Brassosaurus Rex, who was the first one in the chat with the terms of endearment. He got it. It's not the most uplifting movie. I'm not going to lie to you. If you are looking for a Carm recommendation in the drama world, terms of endearment, if you're looking to, feel your emotions that perhaps you haven't felt anytime, recently, if you want to cry about the 3-14 Bears, but you haven't been able to do it and want to get it out, terms of endearment will get you there. Brassosaurus Rex, hit me up on Twitter. Good old at the Carm. I'm going to take care of you. And I see John Clark, you were second. SW Outlander JE, you were third. Levante Rogers, you were fourth. So we appreciate somebody getting a car movie reference out there. Thank you so much.
Yeah, because I wasn't going to get it, Mark. Let's be completely honest here. That's why we have our amazing chat here that, digs deep into however long ago that
you're like a dodgeball guy, Nick. You love what's your favorite movie of all time? Give me a top 3. Doesn't have to be favorite. Let's not put pressure on it. Give me a top 5.
Top 5. Okay, so I'm a big Marvel guy, so anything with Marvel is going to be on my list.
What's your favorite Marvel movie? Iron Man?
No, not Iron Man. I've always loved Spider-Man. I got the Spider-Man shoes over here, so probably with the Tom Holland though, not Tobey Maguire. So we're going the newest Spider-Man. Man, yeah, I wish I had better. Oh, I really love the second Top Gun. Like that's my movie. I freaking got some aviators. I got them right here. Got some aviators. Then I was sporting the mustache look after that because I'm like, oh yeah. Yeah, this is where it's at right here.
That is so you. You are so.
I got the leather jacket too, so now I just need a plane and need to learn how to fly it. So, yeah.
All right, we're coming up on a little bit of time here, but I do want to play Ryan Poles with Hogue and company, and react to that coming back. Cram of endearment is funny, Hair Bear, and I'm trying to lean into appreciating the fact that I have a new nickname on the show, even though it's mostly a haze.
Oh, usually in the.
This is good. Let's hear it. Ryan Poles yesterday with the Chicago media.
Usually in that first round area, you have multiple tiers in the first round that you're looking at. But I'm confident we can get a good player.
When we talked to you a couple weeks ago, we didn't bring up Justin very much at all.
Yep.
What was his reaction to the trade, and just kind of the dance you had to do for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, letting him know that he was valued, but also not ruling out anything.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, communication was good with him, kind of letting him know. But also, I was honest with, you can't completely shut the door either because you just don't know how this thing's going to play out. But his reaction, I let him know when the trade went down and DJ was coming in. I didn't get a response for a while, so I said, "Are you sleeping?" And then he actually was. He took a nap, so he woke up and he was pumped up. So, he got to connect with DJ and he's fired up.
What could this do for him, just having extra weapons? Obviously, you got to fix the blocking part, but the skill position.
Yeah, it's just another playmaker on the field. The one thing I really like is we have 3 different types of receivers. We have a guy that's a big body guy that can play inside outside. We have Moody who can separate and run vertically and make plays. And then DJ, just a strong physical guy that can separate, make plays after the catch too. So I like how everything's set up, and then you throw Cole in the mix too. So he has weapons. We've got to continue to work up front and get better there too.
What did you like about Deontay Foreman and what he brings?
Yeah, I like the style, and the scheme, that fits well. Good vision, burst. I love that he can finish runs with speed, so he'll have a good opportunity to help us out.
What are gamble taking? Is it a potential gamble guy who was kind of hurt for early part of his career, finally comes together, but knowing age, wear and tear, now bringing him in here, is there any sort of gamble with that?
Yeah, there's always, there's always risk with any player, and obviously you look at the background and things that they've had to overcome to get to that point. But I thought the value was good, where it kind of rewarded the player for what he has done and how he improved. But it's not to the point where, you know, it's going to create a lot of harm, you know, either way, but we feel pretty good about it.
What did you learn about David and Khalil working back there together and seeing how maybe Deontay and Khalil could do something similar?
Yeah, I think it's healthy to have, you know, two-back system, you know, guys that can rotate in and out, different styles, like we've had before, where one will kind of more of a physical downhill guy and then the other one can pop long runs and be explosive. So we'll continue to do that, and hopefully we have success there.
I know you said before the goal was to keep David Montgomery here.
Yeah.
What was there a breakdown in negotiations or anything like that?
Yeah, I would just kind of sum it up by saying, you know, players do have a choice. I thought we communicated well. I thought we negotiated well. At the same time, you don't always know what's going on in the background, but I thought we did a good job. We were transparent, we were organized, and it didn't happen. I felt like it was really, really close.
Any thoughts on him staying within the division?
Yeah, especially David, right? I mean, he definitely is going to run with a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
So we'll be ready for that. But, you know, I communicated with him too. I'm happy for him. He's a guy I respected since he was at Iowa State and love the way he runs. So it's all good.
Ryan, with Jalen Carter, how do you describe the complexity of the process here down the stretch of making sure you guys have the most informed review going into draft weekend?
Yeah, it's a big puzzle. Each prospect is a big puzzle. You usually take it all the way back to high school, how they recruited, how they handle that, and now you kind of play it through their career. And you know, sometimes there's red flags that pop up, and you got to sit down and have discussions with different part of your organizations to say, does this guy fit what we're trying to do? You look at the risk. You got to balance that. And again, for us, especially being so young, we want to make sure we're keeping a good culture and maintain this as we go. So when we get back here, we'll put it all on the table and figure that out.
In the past, George would involve himself in decisions like that, where characters in question. Is that still the case with Jalen Carter, for example?
Yeah, that's always it's part of my philosophy too. Yeah. Any guys that have a little bit more high risk, I sit down like last year I did it with Ted and George. I'll do the same this upcoming year with Kevin and George, and we'll sit down and I'll talk about the history and things that we've learned, and do we think it's worth it or not. But I do want my owner and president to sign off and be on the same page.
When you had mentioned that you would have needed to be blown away by the draft prospects, what did you think of the quarterbacks when you did look at them?
Yeah, quality players that had some really good moments in college. You know, regardless of the year or who it is, there's going to be pros and cons. There's going to be, you know, holes that they got to overcome, and do you have the talent to overcome them? I think these guys do. But I really needed something to like take me so far above Justin where, you know, we didn't want to look behind the curtain and see, you know, how this is going to play out. So feel really good about Justin, still do. I think, you know, these quarterback prospects are going to have good careers too.
I was going to say, why do you like your guy better?
Yeah, it's just, I think having him in the building and seeing the progress that he made this first year, getting familiar with our system. Obviously, they're special in the athletic traits. We've seen in college his ability to use his arm too. So I believe when all that comes together, we can have something special.
At what point in the process did you make that decision that you weren't going to be blown away by those guys?
Yeah.
Was it after the combine or?
That was like kind of the last step for us, you know, with this setup that we had where it was, you know, a little bit earlier than you might have thought when you first started this whole thing. It always starts with the tape. We watched a lot of tape. We got together as a group in our pre-combine meetings that we have every year. And then we sat down and talked to the guys and kind of put it together and then looked at, you know, what the trades, you know, could bring our organization and what's the best route to take to get better now in the future. And we felt like the trade was the right thing to do at that time.
From the trips you guys did go on, did you come away with information that give you more excitement and encouragement about what you're ultimately going to wind up getting?
Yeah. You want to be careful though, like the further you get away from tape, you know, the workouts and shorts and all that can sway you a little bit too far. So you kind of want to stay in the same range, but we learned a lot more about the players. A couple of them we met early, got them on the board, talked ball, got our coordinators, our position coaches with them just to get familiar. Sometimes we just went to dinner to feel the person. So we definitely feel better about it now than we did before. And I think the cool thing is it's really weird. You get this job and you just take off and you run. you don't spend a ton of quality time with, your coordinators and sometimes even your head coach. So the time spent with, our offensive defensive line coaches or coordinators just sitting on the plane at dinner, that part was cool too, just bonding as a group.
Is it by accident that there are 4 or 5 kids now from the Chicago area on this team, or is there something to it for you?
No, there's something to it for me. I think when you have pride of your local team that you grew up watching, you knew what, this club meant to the city, and you saw some good times and some good players. I think you're a little bit more motivated to perform at a high level and also lead, because you've seen guys do it at a high level before you. So I always like that aspect. I think it just means a little bit more.
Tunyon coming in, he's a vertical threat in Green Bay. What does that mean for the whole, the role you expect he's going to play now?
Yeah, again, it's just, to me, it's our offensive staff that keeps defenses, on their heels, really, because you get 2 different types. You could roll with 2 tight ends. Cole's more than capable of running routes and making plays as well. So just keeping teams off balance with our personnel groups, that's really going to help us. And again, just to be explosive and make plays down the field.
What's your evaluation of the offensive tackles that are still available in free agency? Can any of them help you?
Right now, when you get to this point of free agency, it drops off. Sellers drop off, talent, experience drops off. You do have a wave of players offensive, defensively that will go through the draft because they kind of want to see how everything settles. So we'll keep an eye on those players. But right now, to improve our team, I think we got to look to the draft.
Ryan, I'm sure it's case by case, but when guys come in to campus for a 30 visit, what do you hope to learn about guys during the time you spend with them there?
Yeah, personalities. Really, we take them out to dinner. We just want to see let their guard down and just talk. Sometimes when you go to the combine, they're uptight, they're nervous. It's an intimidating setup. We just want them to relax a little bit. The intelligence piece. Not that you can see everything, but get them on the board and just talk more ball, watch film, and then see how they move around our organization too and meet different people. That helps. And again, it's just part of the puzzle.
With Matt and the scouting.
So there we go. Ryan Poles. I got my list of things that I took away from it, Nick, but anything that jumps out to you before I go to the old Carm notes here?
Yeah, before we go to the Carm notes, it's not breaking news or anything. The Bears have always been this way, but when asked about Jalen Carter and, players in general that have, maybe character issues or something around them, you want to make sure that it's okay with management, right? Ryan Poles made sure that that needed to be known. And if they're going to make a decision or draft a player, you want to make sure that everyone in the building's okay with it. And again, I don't think that's breaking news, but now as we're kind of evaluating prospects and seeing guys that may have some of these red flags for off the field incidents, that may be a guy now that just, yes, he may be a really good football player, but it's all these other things that are not going to allow us to maybe take that risk of trying to draft a guy like that. But that's, I think, one of the things that kind of stood out to me. But what do you have over there, Mark, in the Carm notes over there?
Yeah, well, you're right there, brother. So the first things that I wrote down is that, quote, he took it all the way back to high school and how they were recruited. So he's going to go deep into the weeds about each player, which makes a whole lot of sense, pretty basic. But I do wonder, when you look at that part of it and you look at the offensive linemen, Paris Johnson Jr., Peter Skoronski, both those dudes, you take it all the way back, you will get rave reviews to the beginning of time on those guys.
Yep.
And you're obviously not going to get the same with Jalen. There's going to be some stuff here behind the scenes, a lot of it, I would think. And it was interesting that he said that he's going to sit with George and Kevin and, this is what we want to do and get their approval. I thought that was interesting. The Fields part of it, we've seen in college his ability to use his arm. He didn't talk about seeing his ability to use it last year. He's talking about, back in college when he was sitting back in the pocket and completing passes to Jackson Smith and Jigba and Garrett Wilson and company. That's the quarterback that he's looking forward, in my mind, to seeing this year. I thought that was just a little window into what he thinks is possible for his QB. I thought it was also interesting that he said the combine was the last step of the process as far as evaluating the quarterbacks and if anybody blew them away, and that workouts can sway you too far. So if you step off of the QB for a second on that comment, a guy like Adebare, who's out of Tamiwa, out of Northwestern, who's flying up the boards because he's crushing it with the workouts, I do wonder if the Bears will, be more focused on the tape with a guy like that who, was more up and down on his tape, possibly because I think definitely because of the circumstances around him and the level of competition and how much he was taken on. But I do wonder, like when he's talking about, we're not going to be, a team that drafts based on the workout, which I like, by the way.
Yeah.
I thought the Chicago thing was interesting too. When you look at the who they went after this offseason, first dude, TJ Edwards, this is a Chicago guy. He wanted to be here, grew up a Bears fan. That was kind of interesting to me that I don't know if he was, I'm not sure if that was 100% truthful, but maybe it is, that he looks at, that diehardness. Join the party tonight.
Yeah, join the party. But Mark, actually, when we were all, for people who played like high school football, and if it was here in the state of Illinois and, you're a Bears fan, didn't you at one point always think like, man, wouldn't it be cool to make it to the next level? You go here and you maybe go to college wherever, but you come back to play in your home state. I know I've had like thoughts about that as I was like being my slot receiver, knowing that hell no, that wasn't gonna happen. But I think there is something to that, playing in your home state and in front of your friends and family, grew up watching the Bears. Now you're wearing that uniform. I can get with that in terms of like those players, putting in even more effort or wanting to just really impress for, their home state team.
I mean, maybe I need to be a little bit more of a romantic on that side. And that would be the dream to play for the Bears or your hometown team. But I also feel like I'm in the NFL. I'm going to kill and maim and do everything I possibly can to be successful, even if I'm a Tennessee Titan or Chicago Bear. But he put it in there. So that's okay. I thought it was interesting. And then he was very clear about the offensive line. When you get to this point in free agency, right now, to improve our team, we've got to look at the draft. I mean, that's pretty damn ass clear right there. Ain't no right tackle that they're going to be signing. They're to improve our team. We're going to look to the draft. I mean, he said it point blank. So I think that gives you a pretty clear idea of what's going to happen between now and a month from now when the draft gets going. By the way, our draft party is going to be amazing. Can't wait to give you more information about that. Should we hear from the head coach before we get on out of here? Do people want to hear from the Flus?
Let's see what the Flus has to say when his swole shirts that he wears consistently now. Let's see what the Flus has to say.
All right, we got 3 videos on the Flus here. 3 videos here. So here I have not watched these. Let's just go live Flus. Flus, look at that serious look. Do not mess with the head coach of the Bears. Okay, Flus, what do you got? Let's hear it.
That is atypical for a team that went 3-14 a year ago. How do you describe kind of the collective calm of the leadership group that you guys have now, and what's creating it?
Yeah, I would just say that when you have a vision for where you want the football team to be, and you have an approach, and you spell that out, and you put your heads together collectively as a group to form that plan, and then execute that plan, but also have the ability to adjust and adapt when things change, and not throw into a panic mode, and say, okay, hey, this is where it is. So we will shift together as a group. What's the best plan going forward? And then just keep moving forward towards the vision. But you have to have that. I believe we have a great foundational floor, in our young group of players, and how we standardize our approach to everything we do, on the field, off the field. And I think that's where it is. And I think that creates that calmness.
Are you guys going to do anything different?
Last one
in terms of camp or that you studied maybe from last year or the young program?
Yeah, so his question was, is doing anything different this year? I would just say, like I said in the OTAs, we're going to focus more on the passing game. A little bit, maybe have a longer 7-on-7s, those types of things, and different situations, 2-minute, red zone, third down, all those things that you do, and maybe emphasize those a little bit more to make where we were a little bit last year we needed to improve on, to make sure we get that done with our approach and our plan. All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're muted still, Mark. There you go.
Okay. We are going in reverse order of Flusosophy. That was the end of his time with the media. But you know what stood out to me there, Nick?
What stood out?
He repeated Jeff Joniak's question for the group. So the question was, he let Hogue and everybody else know this is the thoroughness that Flus brings to the table outside of the guns that he's talking about. And okay, fine, we're going to spend more time in 7-on-7s working on the passing game. There's a football nugget for you. But he wanted everybody to know what the question was. This is an inclusive Flus, man. That's what I got from that.
Well, Mark, I've come to realize with the Flus, like he likes to, especially after games, he'll wrap up the entire game to start off the the press conference. So he's really good about summarizing and making sure everybody knows exactly what was said, what happened. But that's a Flus for you. But the part about being more into when OTAs happen with the 7-on-7, the passing game, I think that should be expected considering how the passing game wasn't a strength of the Bears offense last season, right? And you're getting in some new weapons with DJ Moore, Justin Fields, now year 2 in Luke Getsy's offense. So, yeah, we want to see some of those things maybe. You're not going to polish them up in OTAs, but you're going to start getting maybe some chemistry going into next season. He didn't have Darnell Mooney to finish off the year. So let's go get that started going up again in OTAs. So it makes sense to me.
He also gave a great life lesson that I have learned over time, Nick. Let's dive into the deepness of the Flus. He talked about the Bears foundation. He talked about things not going right. But he talked about basically planting your flag. This is who I am. This is who we are. And when we get lost in the weeds, when Mike McGlinchey says he wants to be a Denver Bronco, or even a guy like David Montgomery's going to Detroit, you still orient to where you planting your flag, what you're about, and you move towards that rather than wallowing in the pity of something that didn't go the way that you went. You planted that flag out there, and that's what you're moving towards, and that's how the Flus does his business. That makes sense?
It does make sense. Yeah, he has a plan. Again, the Bears organization kind of runs this way. They have a plan in place. They're going to stick to however they need to get to that plan to make things happen. So, sticking true to who they are is what the Bears have been doing.
Plant that flag. When you get lost in the wilderness, orient to your flag. All right, we got 2 more Fluses. Part 2 of the Flus coming at you right now.
At the skill set, in person, he is a big runner, and that can really get things downhill. Can take it the distance, and he's very competitive. So I'm excited to get him on the field and to let him compete, for that position. And I'm excited for Herb too. I'm excited for him to go to compete for that position too, and see where it goes.
Would you rather keep Braxton Jones on the left side? Is there an advantage to keeping him there versus moving him to the right side if you found a left tackle?
Yeah, that's all open right now. I think we got to go through the draft and see what we do there, and then we'll see where we're going to piece people together.
The experience that he had on the left side, that translates to the right. It's still valuable.
Yeah, I think he can go on both sides. I think some people, obviously some of the linemen prefer one side or the other. They prefer the right-handed stance, left-handed stance. Where the angles are and all that. So that's always something you have to look at for sure.
Where did you guys take DJ to dinner, and what left the biggest impression on you about that session?
I can't do commercials.
You can. Get you some endorsements.
Yeah. No, it was a very nice place, and again, it was he had the Caesar, which Ted Tolbert said it's the best Caesar in the city. So I did not have it, so I can't. It's like Applebee's.
With chicken or
chilies? just wink when we say it. Yeah. Outback.
But it sounds like just visiting with him resonated, and I'm curious, what about him in those early stages, struck a
you
chord?
can just feel, these people always look, it's just the guy in the jersey number and all that. It's more than that. It's mind, body, and spirit. So that's how we coach guys. We coach guys that way, So in order to know that, you have to build a relationship with guys. But my first impression of DJ is that he lit up the room, and the energy that he brought into the room, and his family brought into the room was just outstanding. And you can feel that light inside of him and the energy he's going to bring to our football team.
He had 8 quarterbacks over the course of his career in Carolina, and he still produced. I mean, how much, when you look at 3,000-yard seasons with a rotating door at quarterback for him. What does that give you? How do you think you can? What can you do here?
Yeah, it's just continuity, right, with the quarterback and having that same guy in there, and then the relationship they build, the rhythm and timing of that. Because one of his skills is a great route runner. He's really good at that, and his ability to get open, and his relationship with Justin is going to be huge. They're starting to build that already, and it's going to be exciting to see.
Matt, when we talked to Ryan yesterday, he made it pretty clear that he felt like you guys were competitive in keeping David Montgomery. That you made a run at it and it just didn't work out.
Right.
I mean, how surprised were you that he ended up moving on? And a guy like that in your locker room, I mean, that's not necessarily easy to replace. So, I mean, how big of a loss is that?
Yeah, I mean, like Ryan said, I agree 100%. I was in all the talks in there, and you have two sides, and sometimes you come to an agreement, and sometimes you don't. That was the case this time. Do we like what David brought? Certainly. He's a high energy guy. He fits our culture, but at the end of the day, he and his agent decided to go a different direction, and that's the way it goes.
In your year plus of working with Ryan, what have you learned about what type of leader he is?
Yeah, I just really like the way his approach is very methodical. It's logical, and it's transparent, and that's what he's done throughout the course of it. And not only with me, with our whole the coaching staff. We're talking through free agency with him, talking through the draft, and the moves that he's going to make or potentially make. And I think when you have clarity with your entire staff like that, it brings a calmness and everybody's on the same plane in terms of where we want to go with the vision of our football team. And our relationship is built over the course of the year too. Just spending time with each other, as obviously GM and head coach, but also spending time out of work, with our wives going out to dinner and us getting to know each other as men, I think is very important too, and that's only going to get stronger.
As you're getting to know some of the draft prospects, if a player, whether it's a character, question, or intangibles, or doesn't necessarily look right now as a guy who fits your philosophy, can you bring guys in and teach them hits?
There is our guy not telling us about dinner.
What's up with that? They're transparent, right? The whole organization been very transparent about what's kind of happening. Now I'm just trying to guess where they went
Where's
to dinner
the best Caesar salad and where do they meet with DJ? I'm assuming it's Arizona. Is it a recent meeting? When was this meeting? Maybe I'm not following close enough.
I thought it was in Chicago. No, or
did they meet in Chicago? So the best Caesar salad in Chicago.
Hey, our chat is a very devoted group. Let's get down. Let's all become investigative journalists and get to the bottom of this. Let's find where this Caesar salad's at.
I asked for ratings on the shirt too. Rob Schwartz gave him a 3. Doesn't like the color, not tight enough.
So the Flus needs to keep working out. Is what Rob was saying.
Yeah, I look. If I was the Flus's stylist, I would tell him, look, dude, you're not a brown guy. You're you pop, dog. We need some red. We need some aqua. Maybe we go power. We could go power. Power black would be cool. Something. This is not brown. You're not an accountant, Flus. You're the head coach of the Chicago Bears. Let's go. Kick down. What else stood out from that situation right there?
The Braxton Jones thing, we talked about that earlier,
that's
right? The Braxton Jones moving, or the possibility they're going to keep it open, right? And I think you have to keep all options open, especially because there's a lot of fluctuation happening on this offensive line right now. But yeah, I think that was the really big takeaway, because if that happens, there are 3 possible left tackles that the Bears could potentially take at number 9 in this upcoming draft.
That position is open. Thank you for reminding me. That was interesting. Open. Hey, Braxton, Matt Eberflus just said that your position is open. Thoughts?
No.
I'm sure he'd be very professional about it.
Yeah.
Or should we do the last? Should we do the last one? We got 3 more minutes of Flus, and then we'll analyze and we'll say goodbye. You can't not play the Flus when you got the Flus. All right, one more Flus, and we'll wrap it up after that.
got to know when the when to get rid of the ball.
Yeah, so each one of those, you take them piece by piece, one by one, right? And you say, okay, hey, this was, pressure that was created immediately, through a miss block or whatever that is, and a lineman set that or whatever it was, or it was, Justin needs to get rid of the ball, and you just say, it's one or the other, right? So a lot of times he got out of there through scrambles and would run the ball. But certainly we got to be better on the inside part of the pocket for sure, and really protecting him so he has time.
When he's got the skill set that not a lot of people have, ability to run and get away from guys, is it hard to teach him, hey, it might just be the better part of Alec to just throw the ball away versus trying to make something magical happen every day?
Yeah, I mean, that's always the case. It's a delicate balance. You don't want to take the playmaker away from him, but he has to understand the situations in the game and when to just move the ball on the field and when to make a play. And it's a delicate balance.
So you mentioned at the combine about Justin making those layups, some of the easier throws, and he's talked about that too this offseason.
Sure.
What does that look like in practice in terms of the offseason? Like, if that's a focal point, how does he get better at some of those things? What do you guys want?
Yeah, so this offseason, obviously is going to be very big for us. Then you start with the phase 1, phase 2, and then you get into phase 2 with the OTAs, and then we get on the field more with the entire football team. So that's going to be a big part. We'll set that up. We're going to set it up, to work on the passing game. A little bit more emphasis on that during this offseason, and then working in the training camp.
To Patrick's question, I mean, a big part of your offseason evaluation with Justin was trying to decide, is it him or the circumstances around him? And by trading the pick and committing to Justin, it seems like you guys did evaluate that it was really a lot about the circumstances and that there's a lot there to work with. And if you put better pieces around him, you're going to get different results.
Yeah, like we said after the season, I believe that Justin took a step. He took a step in the right direction. Obviously he made some dynamic plays, that the whole league was talking about, and he did a really good job with that. Now, just like our whole football team's a young team, he needs to take that next step as the rest of us do.
You envision that happening with better pieces around him?
Yeah,
otherwise you would have moved on at quarterback.
Absolutely. He's got, we're solidifying the offensive line, and we're getting the skill sets around that we need to move the ball down the field and score points, and we're excited about where that's going.
Matt, as an extension of that, you guys were in a unique situation where you're still feeling out who Justin is as a quarterback, but you had the number 1 pick, and there's quarterbacks obviously there. How deep did you get into evaluating this quarterback class over the last 2.5 months?
We did it. We evaluated them.
You specifically?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. So we were looking at all that. We all evaluated it early because we knew we were going to possibly make this decision early. So that was the first thing we did. We evaluated the quarterbacks and where they were and where they fit. And I think we made a good decision.
You had multiple rookies last year as regular starters.
Yeah.
That was super interesting at the end, right? He knew they were going to make a decision early, so they wanted to be set up before free agency. That's interesting.
And they wanted to do their homework on the quarterbacks. So to make that decision, they needed to know if one of these quarterbacks, quote unquote, like how Ryan Poles has said it this entire time, were to blow them away in terms of what this prospect could be. So and Matt Eberflus is a part of that prospect breakdown evaluation. As he's said, he's in the quarterback rooms and the defensive rooms, offensive rooms. He's everywhere. The Flus is everywhere, but they wanted to make sure that they did their homework on the quarterbacks, like we've kind of heard now for a little bit, to make sure that they were on their own timeline, right? They wanted to get this done early on to, like you said, to be set up before free agency.
And, here's where I get too deep in the weeds, but I'll just go there because this is what I do. He didn't go over the top on Justin there. And at the same time, he affirmed that we evaluated everyone, and I think we made a good decision in the fact that, we're moving forward with Fields. And he's also holding a huge standard for him. He took a step. I mean, he took many steps last year. There was a lot of positive momentum for Justin Fields. But the Flus is like, he took a step, basically. We're expecting another big-time step this year. I think it's a good thing. He thinks that, we made the right call. We're sticking with the dude, and he took a step. We ain't there yet. We won 3 games. We're trying to win a Super Bowl. This dude's capable of way more. Trust me, And yes, we didn't put he didn't have a ton of talent around him. He acknowledged that. I don't know. I think it's all interesting. Like he's in on the evaluations. They wanted to make a decision early. They knew that, so they got out in front of it. He believes in his quarterback, and he thinks his quarterback can do a whole lot more. Brick by brick, step by step.
Now with the right, brick by brick, and now with the right weapons around him, now he can hopefully take more steps. And that's why, again, going back to the previous clip, having an emphasis on working on the passing game, because that's where he needs to, those steps to come in, giant leaps, to be completely honest, in year 3 for him to know that they made the right decision, right? So, and now he's in hope after they kind of solidify the offensive line. He said that too in the video we just watched, but put these pieces around Justin. Now we'll see, his true self as a passer, hopefully in year 3 now.
Yeah. I like the chat here. 1,200 steps, Flus. Dude was taking many steps all over the field. Yeah, but for Flus, took a step. It's my guy. Hey, good fun show today. Thanks to Hogue. Thanks to the Flus. Thanks to Polls. Chat was amazing as per always. I think we have maybe one or two more super chats left. I don't know if we got Dylan in there. Yep, there it is. What's your true feelings on the Cram hype? Dylan, I think I've been pretty honest about this. I hate being called Cram. I don't like it, and it bugs me to the end of the earth. But you know what? If it's good for the show, then I'm going to lean into it. And, Braggs with a good Cram move. We don't need to talk about all his failings in life. That would be beneath me. So I'll just, I'm just going to lean into Cram and not worry about, the things that Greg Braggs is not doing well. If there are any of those things, he's such a good teammate. Thank you, Nate. We appreciate you. Yep. Come hang out with us tonight, 8 o'clock. Should be a ton of fun. I know Braggs will be there. I know I will be there. I know Nick will be there. Have a cocktail, do whatnot, and I'm not sure if Hogue is jumping on or not. He's got his family with him out there, but maybe we'll see a Hoger in there as well. Either way, it's going to be a ton of fun. So see you tonight for the diehards at 8 o'clock. If you haven't been a diehard, upgrade your fandom today. allchgo.com. Get yourself hooked up. And Sarah, thank you so much for producing today. I know we went a little long today, and there was a lot of stuff that you helped us out a ton with, so thank you. Nick?
Mark?
See you tonight, buddy.
See you later. See hopefully everyone else later, too.
Peace.